Hello everyone and welcome to round 7 of the URL-GT1 Championship from Silverstone. Just after the Formula 1 circuits left, URL went to Silverstone only to see the track wet again during the qualifying session. Tony Ukic took the pole, 0.5 of a second in front of his teammate Peter Backus. Robert Horvat took his third consecutive podium spot in the qualifying session this season, so he's really looking good. In the AM Cup, it was Florin Manolace overall in 11th, taking the pole, followed by Andrei Kolupnici and Sando Donadel. Let's have a look at the highlights of the race. So here is the grid, and as you can see, it is dark and it is raining. Let's see how the two Maseratis can get away from the grid. Oh, it's Mikko Korkiakoski having a great start, making it up to P2 it seems. Yes indeed, there was a bit of a incident on the grid there in the back. Michal Klisch here going off the track, but still all very clean. There's Robert Horvat leaving the track for a moment, now being passed by Florian Kutz. It's very close. Magnus Liguori, Sten Mikkel Olsen as well. So it's Tony Ukic in front, followed by Mikko Korkiakoski, and they will go 3 wide in here, I think. Magnus Liguori, Sten Mikkel Olsen and Michal Klisch. Here's Florin Manolace first in the AM Cup at the moment, and the whole rest of the grid going through Laffield Corner. Very close here as well with Chris Simpson, Sando Donadel, Bjarne Christensen and Greg Metcalf. And here is Tony Ukic going through Copse Corner, going a bit wide over the grass. Let's see if he can keep his first position, because Mikko is side by side, but he has to slot in behind again. That was a way too risky move at this point of the race. So Robert Horvat in P5 now, behind the McLaren of Miguel Santiago Carao. Then Florian Kutz, Sten Mikkel Olsen in P7. And then it's Magnus Liguori. Behind Florin Manolace is really close to Michal Klisch in 10th. So he has a pro driver behind him in front of the rest of the AM field. So ending lap 1, it's Tony Ukic to Mikko Korkiakoski, very close indeed. From P5 to P2, Mikko Korkiakoski. Let's see what he can do with his weight ballast this race. Peter Backus is in 3rd, and Miguel, and so on, the whole grid streaming through. The track is getting a bit lighter, the skies I mean then. So the rain is stopping a little bit, so track and tire choice will be very important. Here is Florian Kutz for P5 going up the inside into Copse Corner. Can he keep it on the racing line? Yes he can, so he will get in front of Robert Horvat. Sando Donadel was fighting with Matthias Christensen for P11, and Matthias missed the apex slightly here going onto the hanger straight, which gave Sando Donadel the advantage to already make the pass on the hanger straight. I think he will not be bothered in the braking zone. No, he won't. So Sando Donadel takes P11 at the moment in the Saline. Then Magnus Liguori in tricky conditions. Most of the drivers started on slick tires. Had a big slide here in Laffield, and Michal Klisch was there to take that 7th position from him. So here are the two leaders, Mikko Korkiakoski and Tony Ukic. They made a bit of a gap to Peter Backus, and here we see Peter going onto the grass slightly and spinning out, losing 1, 2 and 3 positions in the end, or even 4. And this is Peter Backus now. He fell back to behind Michal Klisch, but he seems to have superior pace at this moment. Maybe he has different tires, we don't know. As I said, most drivers are running the slick tires. It's not so wet and the track is drying up now. So Peter Backus makes the pass for P6 on Michal Klisch. Then Florian Kutz in 4th started to push. He felt he had the pace to get to the two front runners. He went for a late dive up the inside onto Cup's corner. There was some contact, but pass done. So P3 for Florian Kutz. Then Robert Horvat had an eventful start of the lap. He was behind Mando Liguori, passing him here with a stopped car on the left. I think it's Bjarne Christensen or Matthias Christensen, and now he's behind Sando Donadel. And let's see if he will be able to pass him here at the end of this straight already. He's not so close, but Sando is defending a bit. Oh, Sando brakes too late and he goes off the track, so that hands Robert Horvat 11th position. Then it's Fabio Bartolai and Flori Manolacci for the lead in the AM Cup in the middle of the first stint, and Fabio Bartolai making the pass and taking first position, P8 in total. Greg Metcalf was being threatened as well by Robert Horvat, so he fell back a bit. He had made the wrong tire choice in the beginning of the race, but he's now on the right tire and he's going up the grid first, passing Greg Metcalf, now passing Flori Manolacci. So Robert back in the top 10. Then Sten Mikkel Olsen closed the gap from P5 to P4 to Miguel Santiago Carao and muscled his way through in Vale. Mando Liguori was also behind, that must be Flori Manolacci. Yes, indeed, he let his teammate Greg Metcalf in front, let him through, and here Mandio goes for the inside, but can he keep it? Yes, he does. Florin concedes the position and is now back to 12th. And we see the skies clearing up again, so it's really on off the rain. And here we have Mikko Korkiakowski going into the pits, and we see Florian Kutz in P3, not too far behind these two. Then Sten Mikkel, also Miguel Santiago Carao, Peter Backus just before the pit stops, Michal Klisch in P7, then Robert Horvat, Fabio Bartolai first in the AM Cup, Greg Metcalf, then Mando Liguori, who passed Flori Manolacci as we saw, Sando Donadel in P13, Matthias Christensen 14th, Enrico Lupnici 15th, Chris Simpton 16th, and Bjarne Christensen unfortunately had to retire from the race. So it was a first pit stop time for a lot of the drivers. Here we see it's quite crowdy. Peter Backus, Sten Mikkel Olsen, Miguel Santiago Carao, and so on and so on. And strategic choices made here. Florian Kutz went into the pits but didn't change tires. And here we see him coming out of the pits and coming out in front of Toni Ukic and Mikko Korkiakowski, so effectively taking the lead. And his teammate Michal Klisch, teammate of Florian Kutz, he is staying out. So a couple of laps into that second stint after the first pit stop, Mikko Korkiakowski on fresher rubber, of course, closed the gap to Florian, and Florian goes defensive for Cup's corner. Oh, but he understeers, brakes a little bit too late or too hard, and he understeers. But still, now he's between Toni Ukic and Mikko Korkiakowski. Toni will try to get by as soon as possible, the big slide from Florian there. But 2 laps later, Toni went for it as well into Cups with a dummy move, and Florian unfortunately made the same mistake again. and had to let Tony Ukic through, so P3 for Florian Kutz. And Fabio Bartolai, once again, we saw him passing Florin Manolace earlier, and now once again they are close for the lead in the AM Cup. Now it's Fabio back behind, so he fell back in the changing conditions. It's a very hectic race. Difficult to keep the overview, but these two guys are battling for the lead in the AM Cup, and we're more or less halfway through the race. It's raining a bit harder again now. Still, the best tire to be on seems to be the slick tire. Oh, it's getting very, very close now. Almost touching here, Fabio Bartolai. Let's see if he can make the move into Kopp's corner here. Very close. Will he go for the inside? No, Florin goes defensive. And Fabio still has to stay behind. And he will not be able to make the pass at this point. But there will come more chances for sure. Then everyone came back into the pits as it started to rain harder and harder, as we can see on the screen as well. Tony Ukic, Mikko Korkiakowski, they all came into the pits. Florian Kutz came out just behind them. He pitted a lap earlier. And the big winners from this were Michal Klisch. I said he stayed out longer, so he only made one pit stop at this point, together with Sten Mikkel Olsen, so this could really well pay off for them if they chose the right tire for these conditions. Most of the front runners are now running wets. It might be the case that they are running intermediates, Sten and Michal. Florian Kutz is really on Tony Ukic's tail, and it seems that Mikko Korkiakowski is the one benefiting from this. While these two here are battling with Sten Mikkel Olsen and Michal Klisch. Oh, very, very close. Mikko can eke out the gap, and it will be very difficult to catch him. Here Michal lets his teammate through, so Florian Kutz is now in front. Let's see if they can make the pass on Sten as well quickly, or not. Of course, this is for position, so Sten will defend for all he's worth. Oh, Tony puts it on the inside and completes the pass. Will Florian go with him? We'll see in the next braking zone if he can outbrake Sten. It will not be easy. Sten goes a bit defensive. Oh, there's Florin Manolace or Greg Metcalf, I'm not sure, but that was bit of a touch from Sten there, and Florian Kutz goes for the inside and goes through, so he lost a minimal amount of time to Tony Ukic, but Mikko Korkiakowski here kept this lead until the end and took another very hard-fought win this time, closing the gap in the championship back to Tony Ukic. So the next 3 rounds will be very nice to watch. Tony Ukic in second, very closely followed by Florian Kutz for the end of the race. And then in P4 it was Miguel Santiago Carao. But as you can see, it's very light. The track was really starting to get hotter and drier, and this is what that does to wet weather tires if you're not careful. And that's Peter Backus going through, so Miguel effectively lost 1 position. In the very, very last corner, Michal Klisch will not be able to get past him, so he will finish in P6 overall. Then it's Sten Mikkel Olsen, Robert Horvat in P8, Greg Metcalf in P9, Maino Liguori rounding up the top 10. Then it's Florin Manolace, Matthias Christensen, and he's right behind Sandro Donadel, passing him now on the very last lap for P2 in the AM Cup. We saw Florin in first, so that's very unfortunate. Probably Sandro also struggling more with the grip of the tires as Miguel did, and Matthias taking advantage of that for P2 in the AM Cup. So P12 and 13 overall. And then it's Fabio Bartolai. We saw him battling with Florin, but he fell back now a bit. Then it's Andrei Golubnici, Chris Simpton, and he will finish last because Bjarne Christensen didn't make it to the end of the race. Here are the results. So the gaps in the top 3 very small. Mikko Korkiakowski with a 4 or almost 5 second advantage, and the fastest lap between Tony and Mikko very, very close. So this battle will go all the way through to Road Atlanta, Mid-Ohio and Spa-Francorchamps. As I said, in the AM Cup it was Florin Manolace from Matthias Christensen and then Sando Donadel rounding up the top 3. So next week we will have a break. We will have a 3-week break, but on July 28th we will be racing at Road Atlanta for round 8 of the URL-GT1 Championship. So make sure to join us at unitedracersleague.com or just like our YouTube channel and watch all the highlights videos as they come out.